Okay, so we're talking about colour now, and we're on page 22. This one, I haven't got a colour wheel up because here's the colour wheel, and you all need to read this page about the colour wheel. But the major thing that you need to know is that there are three primary colours, and they are yellow, red and blue. They're primary because they can't be mixed. And from those three colours come every other colour. So every other colour has a secondary colour or a partner, and they're called complementary colours. These are these here. So yellow has purple, red has green, blue has orange. Now, Matisse is the past master of the colour theory. And if we start to look at Matisse's paintings here, sorry about this, we'll just put them down for a minute. We can start to see how he's playing around with colours. Here we've got Matisse. Now, we wouldn't have advertising as it is, we wouldn't have poster art as it is without Matisse. He is the man who synthesized line, form and colour. And he played with his complementary colours to the point where the red and the green here are bouncing off, blue and orange are bouncing off. There's a bit of mauve, although these are bad photographs, so it's hard to see. This one's another example where during the war, he's toned his colours right down because he was being introspective, anxious about life, but he's still playing with his colour theory. So we have the orange here making all these blues really strong. This is a real pink in real life, and that pink makes that green really sing. If it was a blue, it'd make the green quite dull. And the yellows here make the purples bright, and vice versa. So Matisse, you just want to look at all his colorways. He's just a master of it. There's a wonderful portrait I have here. Sorry, I'm coming up close to the camera. Where you can see his love of color. And this is really something to teach us all how to work with colour. His fantastic complementaries. Look at that green stripe on the nose against the pink of the face. He was, of course, ridiculed for this, but later on in life, he's now absolutely lionised for it. We've got our colours. We know that we can have our secondary colours and our colour combinations, yellow and purple, red and green, blue and orange. We need to know those combinations, because if we manage to put those combinations in any form together, they will just sing. It doesn't have to be bright red and bright green. It can be pale pink and a dusky green, but they will still bounce off each other. It's very important to know this. Now, one thing I get all my students, well, I always do myself, is to actually, when I have a new paint box, I paint my paint box. So these are two different paint boxes that I have. This one here is a new box. This is my old box. I don't know if it's this one, but it could be. All right, this is a fairly bad example of my paint box. This is actually this one. It's hard to see how I make a mess of my paint boxes. But that's why I need to know what the colours look like, because here, once I've made a total mess of them, I'm not sure what colour it is, but I can see here what colours they are in real life. So that's a good example. Does that make sense to you? All right. So paint your paint box before you start. It also, if you've got a new paint box, it opens up your paints, because your paints often have a slick on them which is hard to get off, and when you're out painting you want to get that paint off quickly. So by doing this you actually open your paints and they're more adaptable to use. The other thing is, how do we deal with toning down our colours? Now, the thing about our complementary colours here is that we can tone down our colours by adding the complementary. We grey down the colours. So if we add a little bit, you can see I've got green, green, green. These are three different greens, and I've got three different reds. They're all on the red spectrum. So if I add this green and this little bit of Indian red, I'll get a toned down green. If I add this bit of green to a yellow, that's my yellow green. I add a bit of it to a red, a cadmium red, I'll get a toned down one. And here I've added viridian and alizarin, and I get this lovely dark colour. It will work the other way if I add more of the green, less of the green to the red, I'll get a toned down red. And here I'll get it toned down alizarin if I add just a little bit of green. They work either way. You just got to use the proportions. But by mixing your greens, you actually can start to grey them down, because we don't want to have that kind of green in the landscape the whole time. Maybe in this wet weather we do. Maybe if we go to England we do. But in Australia, most of our colours are in these sort of spectrums. So we need to know how to make them. Now, in this one here, what we have, I'll put it back on, can you see it here? What we have here are the 6 colours of this colour wheel, these 6 colours. And this is what I've done to tone them down. Now, if you add a bit of the purple to the yellow, I'm getting these colours here. A bit more, a bit the middle amount, equal amount, a bit more of the purple. But you can see how I'm building up a whole colour palette. You can spend a whole week just sitting playing with colours. Now, this is the mix we've got. If you then make your darkest dark, and your darkest dark, you never add black to your colours now. Your darkest dark is made by mixing your darkest colours. So maybe it's the dark red here, maybe it's an ultramarine blue, maybe it's a purple. You get your darkest dark and you mix that as a black now. So to make a shade, you add your darkest dark, but it will still be informed by colour. To add a tint, to make a tint or to tone it down, you add white. So you can see from these colours how we've got these wonderful variations. We've built up a whole palette of colour, and it is so important to have as many colours as you can, all from these 6 colours. And we could go on forever mixing colours till it's like a porter's paint chart, till there's really hardly any difference in the colours. And the only other thing I want to tell you about is that when you look at colours on the colour wheel, you have warm colours and cool colours. And a warm colour is any colour that is veering to the red side. It's fire. Think of fire. Cool colours are veering towards ice and water. Think of these cool colours. So if you have a colour that's been mixed with a warm colour, it will tone it down. So for instance, if I have this red, it's been mixed with a blue, it will get a purpley look. That is now called a cool red, and this is a warm red. If I use these colours to my advantage, I will get the warm red to come forward when I paint something, and I'll get my cool red to make it go back. So for instance, painting my tomatoes here, I have used a warm red in the front, and I've used a cool red. I've used this red here at the back to make it go away. I've used the warm reds to bring it forward. I probably don't look right. So that's actually got now a 3-dimensional feel, all right? So you can do that. You can cool your yellows down by mixing them with a purple, just to cool them down a little bit. You can warm up your blues by adding a bit of red to them, and then that will make them warmer. That's just a very brief introduction to colour Matesian style, where we use our complementaries, we play with them, and we learn to tone our colours down. So here are complementaries. Here we've learned how to tone them down. Here we're thinking about what's warm and what's cool and how we use it. Oh, thanks for watching. And don't forget to paint your paint box before you start. Learn your colours. Learn what they look like, just pure colour out of your paint box. And I'm sorry about my very messy paint box here.